All right, my friends, it's now time for the Soulful Psalm segment of Beacon of Truth. The Soulful Psalms, we take a look at the Psalms within the context of the daily Mass readings. And today, of course, is Monday in the 5th week of Ordinary Time. And so the first reading is from 1 Kings chapter 8. So obviously David dies in 1 Kings chapter 2. We see the death of David. And so his son Solomon takes over. So now 1 Kings chapter 8 is during the reign of Solomon. And so this talks about the elders of Israel and the leaders of the tribes. Because remember, David had reunited the 12 tribes of Israel, and the tribes stayed united under Solomon. They came to King Solomon and to bring the Ark of the Lord's covenant from the city of David, which is Zion, right, Jerusalem. And all the people of Israel assembled before King Solomon for the festival in what they call the 7th month. And when all the leaders had arrived, the priests took the ark and carried the ark of the Lord to the meeting tent with all the sacred vessels that were in the tent. It says the priests and the Levites carried them, right? Because again, the Ark of the Covenant can only be carried by the priests or by the Levites. Now remember, just a little bit confusing here, right? It says the priests and the Levites. We say, well, what's the difference? Aren't Levites priests? Now remember, there's the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So Manasseh, Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Dan, Benjamin, Asher, Zebulun, Ephraim, Issachar, Naphtali, and Gad. Those are the 12 tribes. But there was a 13th tribe, the tribe of Levi, which was the priestly tribe that serves the priestly and ministerial needs of the other 12 tribes. So this was a 13th tribe, the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi consisted of the high priest, the priests, and the Levites. So that's why it gets confusing. So that's why it says here the priests and the Levites carried them. So the Levites, in a sense, were the deacons, right? They weren't called deacons back then, but they're of the tribe of Levi. There's a threefold hierarchy, and you can see what Jesus did. He kept that threefold hierarchy in the New Testament. So the high priest is the bishop. Then you have the priests that are the priests, and then the Levites who are the deacons. So Jesus, remember, says, I've not come to abolish the law and the prophets, but to fulfill them. So he kept that threefold hierarchy, which again, and the Levitical priesthood came out of the original Melchizedekian priesthood, which was familial, the grandfather, the father, and the son, right? But after the golden calf incident at Mount Sinai, that transitioned into a Levitical priesthood, right? And so priests and Levites were the only ones that could carry the ark. And so King Solomon and the entire community, offered sacrifices and, to the Lord. And then it talks about the Shekinah, the glory cloud of the Lord coming over and overshadowing the tabernacle with the glory of God. And so is that, in fact, the Shekinah is the Hebrew, but the Greek word is the same word, episkiazo, the same word that was used for the Holy Spirit overshadowing Mary, right? During the Annunciation, right? And so it's that same word. So she's the new Ark of the Covenant. Beautiful. And then the gospel reading today is from Mark. And after crossing on the other side of the sea, which is the Sea of Galilee, right? Jesus' disciples came to the land of Gennesaret. So this was not Israel territory. This was Gentile territory. Um, and they took their boat and they moored the boat, tied up the boat there in Gennesaret. And people, it says, immediately recognized him. And people began to call their friends. They used to get mats and used to, just bring the sick on different mats and bring all the people that needed healing because his reputation preceded him. And Jesus went to where they were and healed the sick. And they begged that he might touch the tassel of his cloak. And many, many, many people were healed, you know. And so sandwiched in between those two is Psalm 132. So 132 is in book 5 of the Psalms, Psalms 107 to 153, or to 150 is in book 5 of the Psalms. It says, and so the refrain is, Lord, go up to the place of your rest. right? So go up to the place of your rest. So we see the Ark of the Covenant in the first reading being brought to Solomon, and they had celebrations and feasts. Jesus coming to bring life and healing to the people, the Gentile peoples in the land of Gennesaret, which is also, by the way, later on where he would meet the demoniac, the Gennesaret demoniac, who was naked and living in the tombs, right? This was also the same place where that happened. So in Psalm 132, it says, it talks also about the Ark of the Covenant. We heard with our own ears, right? We heard of it in Ephratah. We found it in the fields of Ja'ar. Let us enter into his dwelling. Let us worship at his footstool. So Psalm 132 is talking about entering into the temple and worshiping God. Oh, by the way, Psalm 132, this is important. It's also a song of ascents, right? Shir Hama'alot in Hebrew. So the songs of ascents were some of the songs, Psalms 120 to 134. These were psalms sung by worshipers as they ascended the road to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of Passover, unleavened bread, or Pesach, the feast of Pentecost, or the feast of weeks, which was the wheat harvest, the Shavuot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths, which is the fruit harvest, which is Sukkot. So the Jews would come and celebrate one of these three feasts at the temple, and so this was one of the songs that they sung as they were going for one of these three feasts to Jerusalem, to the city of David. Just like it says in the first reading from 1 Kings 8, the Ark of the Covenant made its way to Solomon from the city of David. And here we see people going up to the city of David to celebrate one of these major feasts. And it talks about, this Psalm 132 actually is talking about David. So it's talking about, how David was the first one to kind of, to take the ark and put it in a place of memorial and reverence. So we heard of it in Ephratah. We found it in the fields of Ja'ar, which is where they found the Ark of the Covenant. Let us go then to bring the Ark of the Covenant to the place of rest. Advance, O Lord, to your resting place, you and the Ark of your majesty. It's funny. This translation is very interesting because I'm so used to the more accurate translation, which reads, "Go up, Lord, to the place of your rest, you and the ark of your strength. Your priests shall be clothed with justice. Your faithful shall ring out your joy. For the sake of David, your servant, do not reject your anointed." Right? So we're talking about, the priesthood today, and this shows the glory of the priesthood, right? This shows that David was a son, but he also exercised fatherhood as a priest over his people. So it's kind of a foreshadowing of the restoration of the familial priesthood, which would happen, of course, under Jesus, who within himself unites both the Levitical priesthood and the Melchizedekian priesthood. So he returns to sonship, but also the sacrificial offering of the Levites. He unites those at the Last Supper.
For more on the Psalms with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, check out Beacon of Truth weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts.